Yo, once again it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment, share, definitely subscribe to the channel. So anytime I bring you this heat, this action, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive it. Now with no further ado, let's get into this morning's video, if you will. It was an early Sunday morning. I typically get up early every morning, but Sundays are especially special to me. I love the NFL. I'm a big football fan, big Dallas Cowboys fan, even though I got on a Bengals hoodie. I'm definitely a Dallas Cowboys fan. So I'm up early, to go and support my favorite teams, if you will. And I also get my fantasy lineups together, get any last minute adjustments before the games start at 1 o'clock. Big supporter of fantasy football as well. But nevertheless, I wanted to share something with you all this morning. And it's more so for the individuals who have never, ever been in trouble with the law. And kind of let you all know, if you will, exactly how things work. I see how judgmental a lot of people are, just, based on charges alone. And I've spoke on it several times, in prior videos. And yet people continue, not everyone, but people continue to be judgmental just based on, what the media says, social media, what the newspaper may say, if people even read newspapers anymore. But it's all relative in, what I'm saying. So I want to take you all, I want to let you into my world, my life. Real Kens TV for a reason, because I keep it as real as I possibly can, So I'm not going to get on here and make it like, I'm some angel, I was always a saint, or heck, I'm not a saint now. But at the same time, I understand that in life, while things happen, you just have to put yourself in better situations, better environments, better predicaments, you know what I mean? So that a lot of times these things that tend to happen in life, from time to time, can be avoided. So we're going to go back about 20 years, actually longer than 20 years. Maybe 22, 23 years, give or take, somewhere in that range. I'm going to tell you how this system works. I'm going to tell you. So this is why you're guilty before proven innocent. Let me explain something to you. So at the time, I'm in a relationship with this young lady, and everything was pretty much cool with us, I noticed that she had a quick temper, to say the least. And there were times to where she exemplified that quick temper. But it was just one of those things. You know how it is when you first get with somebody and they do things, you start to notice little things that they do, but in the beginning you think it's cute, because you don't really know that person like that. So in the relationship is relatively new, so you're not really, you tend to overlook some things that perhaps a year into the relationship, 2 years into the relationship, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to overlook it. So we had been together a few months, hadn't really had any major arguments, or I'm not really a big, proponent of arguing anyway. I'd rather just, if we can't talk it out, if we can't agree to disagree or what have you, I'm the type of person, I'll just leave, just to avoid any sort of conflict, that's just the best case scenario for myself, is just to leave. I'm not listening to you. You're not listening to me. I'm going to leave and go cool off. So one particular night, and I'm trying to paint this picture for you all, you know. One particular night, she was at work. I never will forget it. The NBA playoffs was going on. I'm going to tell you how long, this is how long ago this was, now that I really, really recollect, reminisce. This was back when the Chicago Bulls was winning championships, when Michael Jordan was still playing. So for you younger people that may be watching, perhaps you don't remember this. Obviously, you're not going to remember this. So I want to say it was right around 98. So I'm sitting in the house, minding my business, watching the Chicago Bulls. It's in the playoffs. Get a knock at the door. I wonder who that is. So I'm sitting there, knock at the door. So I look out the peephole, whatever, and it's one of my partners. He just came over unexpectedly. So I let him in. Hey, what's up, man? You know, he's like, man, we was out in the area. You know, he was with another guy that I knew. Real good guy, too. You know, no troublemakers, anything like that. So I let him in, you know, sitting there watching the game. Just chilling, watching the game. You know, we talking. Well, let me point this out as well. The apartment that I was in was her apartment. So I didn't technically live there, but I was always there, and I had, you know, my clothes there. But it was her apartment. Some of y'all know how that goes. But nevertheless, we're sitting there watching the game. She calls from work on her break. So, you know, we're talking on the phone, and she was like, what is that in the background? Now, I don't even know what she heard, because I hadn't even told her that anyone was over there yet. So I was like, yeah, man, my partner Marlon, and, you know, his partner, I forgot what his partner, Biscuit or something. I was like, yeah, Marlon and Biscuit stopped by, man. You know, we just sitting here watching the game. What's going on with you? So, you know, the phone kind of gets quiet or whatever. She was like, I know that I heard a female in the house. And I'm like, what? I was like, there's no females here. There's, you know, me, Marlon, and Biscuit. We sitting there watching the game. Now, neither one of those guys had high-pitched voices to where perhaps she misconstrued and you know, mistakenly took that voice as, you know, for a female's voice. I was like, there's no female here. It's just us three. I was like, hey, y'all say hello. They was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, we just, you know, once again, we minding our business, watching the game. They just popped up. I didn't even know they was coming over. So we ended up getting off the phone. Like I said, it was just break time when she called. And we ended up getting off the phone. No big deal. So I thought. No arguments. Anything like that. So I had to go pick her up right around 11:30 p.m. She didn't have a car at the time. So I would take her to work, you know, and I would pick her up from work. When I pick her up from work, it's a rainy night. It's storming. It's raining like cats and dogs. So I pick her up, you know, she gets in the car, slams the door immediately as soon as she gets in the car. No, hey baby, how you doing? I missed you. Thank you, good to see you. You know, none of that. Gets in the car, slams the door. Boom. Now, remember I said I'd seen some signs that let me know that she might have a short fuse. But I've never actually experienced the short fuse in its entirety, if you will. So she slams the door, and, you know, I'm like, what's the problem? What's going on? You okay? Somebody make you mad at work? Did somebody, say something to you? She didn't say anything. So we're proceeding to go home. I asked her, you want to stop and get you something to eat? Sometimes she want to stop and get her something to eat. She still doesn't say anything. So I'm driving, and I was like, what is the problem? She was like, I want to know who that girl was that you had in my house. So I'm like, I thought we already discussed that I didn't have a girl in your house. She was like, I know what I heard. I know a female's voice when I hear one. I'm a female. I know a female's voice when I hear one. You being a female, I don't know what that had to do with anything. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, I was like, listen, if you heard anything, and I don't even remember them saying anything, you may have heard, Marlon or Biscuit, we're watching the game, so, perhaps I missed it and someone said something. It's not like I was like, hey, you all be quiet, my girl's calling. It was no secret. There was nothing to hide. So she insists that I had a woman, that I had another lady in her house. So I'm trying to tell her I did not. Well, the more that I deny it, the more angry she becomes. So you telling me I'm stupid? You telling me that I'm hearing voices? Man, I'm not telling you you're stupid. I'm not telling you. Only thing I can tell you is the truth. I didn't have anyone in your house. Never had anyone in the house. Never had been caught up with, talking to other females, anything like that. And I was a young guy then. A young, handsome guy then, you know what I mean? But, just acting silly. But I didn't have any females in the house. Next thing I know, just out of the blue, she's like, let me out of this car. I'm like, let you out of the car? We're on a dark, narrow road. So, there's cars coming from the opposite direction. Remember, it's raining. The roads are slick. I'm a young dude still trying to come up in this world. My tires were bald. I needed new tires, but I didn't have the money to replace my tires, so I had to do the one tire at a thing, one tire at a time thing. Some of y'all know about that. So I'm being very, very cautious on this road that we're on. I mean, it's raining like crazy. Let me out of the car. I'm like, I'm not about to let you out of the car, man. You can get out of the car when we get home. I'm not gonna allow you or let you get out of the car. Next thing you know, she starts grabbing at the wheel. Now I'm painting the picture exactly how it happened. People say there's three sides to a story. My side, in this particular case, her side, and the truth. No, it's one side. This particular is one side. Real Kids TV, we tell one side. So, and that's the truth. So she's grabbing at the wheel from the passenger side. Now here I am, I'm driving. Cars are coming from the opposite direction. It's raining. The windshield wipers is I don't know, they probably barely working. I'm concerned because I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road, but she's literally grabbing at the wheel. So the car is going back and forth. There's no place to pull over on this road. So then all of a sudden, she starts swinging and hitting me. I've never, ever experienced, even to this day, I've never experienced a woman putting her hands on me. Never. That was the first time. And like I said, to this day, it's never, ever happened. So she's swinging at me. I'm driving. She's grabbing at the wheel. She's swinging at me. I'm trying to watch the cars coming from opposite direction. It's raining. My tires are bald. The windshield wipers is halfway. They work, but I need to replace my wipers just as well. And I'm confused. But at the same time, I'm getting upset as well. I do not like, that's the one thing. Don't put your hands on me. That's one thing that I don't have a whole lot of patience for. When I was in prison, I had my fair share of fights. Won some, Lost a couple. You know what I mean? But my thing is this: you can say whatever you want to say. You can just don't put your hands on me. Now she's swinging at me. She's connecting. She's connecting as she swings. And I'm looking for a place to pull over. The only thing that I can do is try to maintain a clear view, if you will, on the road, because I don't want to crash. I don't want to wreck. Here it is. She's over here going crazy. So finally we get off that smaller road. We get to a main road. Once we get to the main road, now she's pulling, "You not gonna let me out of this car? Let me out of this car," she's screaming. So now she's trying to pull the key out of the ignition. She eventually pulls the key out of the ignition, and I take that back. Let me rewind. Let me rewind that. It was such a long time ago, but somehow she ends up getting the key out of the ignition, because I vividly remember my car I blatantly remember my car being stuck in the middle of the road. My car was literally stuck in the middle of the road once we got to a main road. So I get out of the car. She jumps out of the car. So I get out of the car. I'm like, "Please give me my key." She has my key. She will not give me my key. She's still assaulting me, physically assaulting me, hitting me, swinging it, punching on me. I'm like, "Give me my key." Now imagine, I'm livid, but I don't believe in putting my hands on women. I never have, and I never will. I'm not a woman beater by any stretch of the imagination. So we're wrestling, but not literally wrestling. Like, I'm grabbing at her hand, like, "Give me my key." Not assaulting her or anything like that. She takes my key and she throws it. When she throws my key, it's like, I don't know where it went at. At this point, it's past midnight, or right around midnight. She throws my keys. They go in, like, there's a whole bunch of bushes and trees, and so she throws my key. So now my car is really, really stuck. I'm already just sitting there in the middle of the road. Now I don't have a key. I never will forget that there was a payphone. That's back when people, paper phones were popular. You put 25 cents in the phone, because everybody didn't have, in 98, 97, 98, when this happened, everybody didn't just have cell phones back then. You had the little the Nokia phones. That's the first phone that I ever had. The little Nokia phones where you get free nights and weekends. Free nights start at 7 o'clock and go all the way till like 7 in the morning. You better not call nobody. You better not call me before 7 o'clock, before the phone is free. Free nights and weekends. That's how it started out. So she gets on the payphone and she calls the police. Tells the police that I assaulted her. Now, I understand this is a lengthy story, but I have to paint a picture. I have to let you all, I want you all to actually be able to close your eyes if you're in a situation where you can, and just visualize what I'm saying. Now, if you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes. Just hear me out. So she calls the police, says my name, "Real Kens, he assaulted me." So I'm in dismay. I can't believe what's going on. At that time, see, I didn't grow up seeing abuse. I never seen that in my household. I never had a criminal record when I was a kid. I didn't start getting into trouble until I was an adult. So I never experienced jail. I think I had been arrested for a time or two for something minor, like I get a traffic ticket and wouldn't pay it. Back then, I don't know. I was just like, you know what, I ain't paying it. So I get arrested and, have to sit in there for a couple hours and little stuff like that. But I never had been arrested before as far as anything serious and having to stay in jail. So she calls the police. I end up leaving. I wasn't going to stick around. So I think Marlon came and picked me up. Once he picked me up, I'm not quite sure who picked her up. She probably called her mother or something like that. So my car's in the middle of the road. I have to call, get my car towed, and fast forwarding probably about a week and a half later, the same car, I got it towed, had to get another key made. It was a little hatchback, Honda Civic. It was a little hatchback, man. And that was one of my first cars, maybe my second car that I ever had. But at any rate, got the car back. I'm driving, minding my own business. Police get behind me. When the police get behind me, of course, they pull me over. So once they pull me over, they run my name. Real Kens, step out of the car. Do you know this person? I was like, yeah, I know her. Well, she's filed an assault charge against you, and you have a warrant for your arrest. I'm like, assault? I didn't assault anyone. It was like, well, according to her, you assaulted her. So I'm trying to explain to the officer. Well, the officer's like, I understand, Real Kens, but I still have to do my job. Just explain it to the judge. And so now I'm really sick. Not only did I get arrested, but now I got to get my car towed again. So my car, he takes me in. I have to leave my car where it's at. And when I get to jail, I'm just, first time ever, being in jail. I get to jail. They have a thing where it's called pre-trial. You go to pre-trial when you first get arrested. Basically, you give them information like, okay, how long have you lived in Kentucky? How long have you lived at this address? Can anyone verify this information? Where do you work at? And you get points. You get positive points for everything that's positive, such as having a job, not being in trouble before. You get positive points. Well, my problem then was, remember I told you I would get traffic tickets and wouldn't pay the tickets or come to court. So it was like I had a reputation of not coming to court. Had a couple FTAs on my in my file, failure to appears. So the judge, probably about 3 or 4 hours later, judge looks at my case, pre-trial. They don't lower my bond. So my bond was $3,000 full cash in '98. It's a lot of money back then. Hell, it's a lot of money now. So I never will forget, it was on a Friday. And I couldn't get arraigned until that Monday. Arraignment is your first court appearance. Everybody starts off with arraignment in which your charges are read to you. So it's a Friday. May even been a Thursday. And I'm thinking that Friday could have, for some reason they wasn't having court that Friday. So I had to wait until Monday to go to court to, be arraigned. I called my mother up. She was like, you in jail? And, I'm telling her the scenario and exactly what happened. My mom raised me. My dad didn't really bother when I was younger. So my mom was the one that I always went to, So I called my mom and I'm telling her the situation. The problem was my mother was out of town. I think she had went to Arkansas with her friend for the weekend. So my mother was out of town. Back then, you couldn't just pay a bond over the phone like you can now. Now you can just, if you're trying to pay a bond or a fine or something that nature, you can just call the courthouse or call the jail, whatever, pay it right there over the phone. Back then, you couldn't do that. Now, my mom was far from rich. Single mother, Now, at this point, I'm grown. But she still, she was just a single parent. She didn't have a whole lot. We didn't live in a house. I came up in an apartment. Initially, the housing authority but the thing about it is this: subsidized housing. My mother, just to give you a brief insight of my mother, she never wanted that to be her final destination, her final landing point. So we was just there for the moment. My mother and father got married at 18 years old, right out of high school. That's what you did back then. So she had been married for like 8 years. They had me, I believe, 3 years into the marriage. Well, they had divorced, at that point. By the time that I was an adult, they had divorced. Been well divorced, actually. So, my mother was the person that I always called. She's out of town. She's in Arkansas. She doesn't really have $3,000. I'm in jail sick. I'm in jail sick. Well, I come to the realization that I'm going to have to sit in there until Monday. That's just what it's going to be. So, the thing about an assault charge, anything violent that's considered violent, they're going to send you to the worst part of the jail. Back then, it was the 6th or the 7th floor. And they called them Vietnam and Korea. Because when you go to Vietnam and Korea, man, you're going to have to get down. Go for what you know. So, I forget which one they sent me to. So, I get in the cell, whatever. But I'm cool. There's a couple people in there that I knew. So, I ain't really have no issues. So, they're kind of telling me how the court process works, how the system works or whatever. I'm new to this. Monday comes along. My mom hires me an attorney. The attorney came in. She was a really nice attorney. Really nice attorney. Marcel Rademeyer was her name. She was known for... She was just the go-to attorney. My mom hires me an attorney. She gets me a bond reduction to where they let me out basically for little or nothing, maybe $4. So I get out of jail. I'm not to go around her. I'm not to be within so many feet of her, in the vicinity of her. I go to court. I go to my initial arraignment. I don't say anything. Let the lawyer do all the speaking for me. I never will forget, I'm telling my lawyer exactly what happened. I'm telling her to a T. The same way that I'm telling you all what happened, I'm telling her exactly what happened. I get the report. Again, it said that I choked her. That I pushed her, put her in a headlock. Just blatant lies. Blatant lies. Never did any of that. Never did any of that. So I'm in court. The judge is talking reckless. The judge is talking reckless. My lawyer has already instructed me not to say anything, but I just can't fight it back. Your Honor, I'm sorry. With all due respect, why am I being, patronized? I didn't even do anything. So my lawyer's trying to tell me, no, real Ken. So I'm talking, no, Your Honor, man, these charges are bogus. I object, all the things I heard on Law and Order. So I'm in court trying to speak the court language. So the judge almost holds me in contempt. So finally, my lawyer gets me to calm down. I don't say anything else. They offer me to serve 30 days. Now, actually, I believe the initial offer was 60 days. Now, it's a misdemeanor in Kentucky, 4th degree assault. 4th degree assault is a misdemeanor, punishable up to 1 year in the county. They offer me 60 days. Obviously, I'm like, no. Then they come down to 30 days. Now, each time I go back to court, the offer goes down. It continues to lower. Offer me 30 days. I say no. They offer me 14 days. I say no. Now, when I'm saying, like I said, these offers are not all in the same day. It's like, okay, I come back to court in 2 weeks. So the offer gets down to 14 days. I'm like, no, I'm not taking any time. I didn't assault anyone. I did not assault anyone. So we come back to court one final time, and the judge, he's tired of the back and forth. Either we're going to set a trial date, or we're going to get a plea deal or dismissal. Something's going to happen. I go back to court. Those 4 days that I did in the county jail, they offer me time served. Listen, if you plead guilty today, we'll give you time served. They just wanted a conviction. Didn't care about the truth. Didn't care that, I'm denying these charges to the utmost. I'm adamant. They offer me 4 days. I say no. So my lawyer's like, okay, well, we'll just go to trial with it. My lawyer, she was a bulldog. She was a dog, respectfully. She was known for going to trial. She hadn't lost a case. And to this day, I'm not sure she ever lost a case. Marcel Ridermile. That's her name. So she's like, all right, well, let's go to trial then. My lawyer knows that I'm not guilty. She knows, like, she believes. The judge is like, okay, Mr. Realkins, the court has been very, very generous and understanding and offered you a more than fair deal, plea deal of, offer me time served, no probation, anything, just time served. He says, if you go to trial, which it appears that that's where we're heading, I will personally make sure that if that jury recommends 12 months, that you do every single day of that 12 months. Trying to scare me. Well, my thing is this. When you believe in something, and right is right and wrong is wrong, and you know that you're being wrong, guess what? You're willing to take that chance. And I definitely was willing to take that chance. I understand, Your Honor. So we proceed. We set it up for trial. We have what's called a pre-trial conference, to where maybe a day or two, maybe even 3 days before the trial is supposed to start, you come back to court one final time. We come back to court. My lawyer goes in to the prosecutor. She said, I got something that you may want to see. She pulls out the young lady that I was with. She pulls her file out. I'm the fourth person within the last, I want to say, maybe 3 years that she's filed assault charges on and went downtown and had EPOs, emergency protective orders, taken out against. 3 people prior to me, she had done that in a span of 3 years. So my lawyer's like, hang tight, I'm gonna go talk to the prosecutor. She goes to the prosecutor. My lawyer comes back. She's like, I got great news for you. They're willing to dismiss the charges. However, you got to go 6 months. If there's no, disturbances, if there's nothing that happens between you all, then the charges will be dismissed. My thing is this. I looked at it and I said, okay, will my mother get her $3,000 back? Because that's what I was concerned with. Will she get it back today? She goes and talks to the prosecutor or whatever. I have to wait the 6 months because the case is still technically an open case. Now you got to wait 6 months. I said, I can't do that. My mother, she needs her money. My mother wasn't stressing me over the money, but at the same time, I wanted her to have her money back ASAP. She goes, talks to the prosecutor. She comes back, charges totally dismissed. Totally dismissed. No stipulations, no anything. Charges dismissed. Well, during that time to where I was fighting these charges, maybe the span of 2 months. Because when you're in misdemeanor court, it's a lot quicker. The case is resolved a lot quicker opposed to if you're in circuit court, which is felony court. Cases in felony court could take a year, 2 years, or longer, depending on how serious the case is, especially like murder and, real serious charges. Well, during that span, I was fired from my job. Back then, I worked at Sears. I don't even know if Sears is around anymore. I worked at Sears. They found out about my charges, my alleged charges. I was fired from my job. Back then, when you got arrested, they put your charges in the newspaper. The newspapers were big then. They were big then. There was no social media. There was no Facebook, no Instagram. I was in the newspaper. They had a magazine called Busted. It was like its own independent magazine. My face was plastered on the, inside of the Busted magazine. People knew that I had been arrested for assault. Meanwhile, I never touched her. Other than trying to get my key out of her hand, I never physically assaulted her in any manner. Not even close. But guess what? I was convicted in the eye of the public before I even had my day in court. All because she said that I did this. She filed a complaint, wrote out, made up some things in her mind, put it on this piece of paper. The people downtown, or the police officers, actually the people downtown, they believed her and put out a warrant for my arrest. And I hadn't done anything. Now, it looked bad. It looked as though I had assaulted a woman. Because that's what they said. That's what she said, rather. I'm an innocent man. I spent 4 days in jail. My mom had to put up a $3,000 bond. Plus pay $1,000 for my lawyer back then. 98 now is a lot of money. Plus be humiliated. Plus get my car towed twice and have to pay money to get my car out of the tow. All of these things because of what one person said. So I say this to say this. A lot of you all that love to judge people before they've had their day in court, hopefully you take this story and you understand that this could happen to you. Now I know I'm gonna have some weirdos. Well, why would she do that? I don't believe that, Real Kens, because I don't understand why there's some nasty people in this world. So just because you can't fathom yourself doing that, there's some real crooked, nasty, ornery, unhappy people in this world that would do anything to see you unhappy, would do anything to see you suffer. I remember that story so clearly because I've never forgotten it. To this day, that assault charge is still on my record as far as being arrested. It's on my record, but it shows dismissed, but it's still on my record. So in order to get it off my record, I have to go and pay an attorney or wait until they have like an expungement period to where I can go and try to get that expunged off my record. But as the years would pile up, my record is my record at this point. Now, eventually, I'm hopeful that eventually I can get my record fully expunged and have everything come off my record. So I never really worried about it, but nevertheless, it's still there. See, the court systems don't say in Kentucky anyway. They don't say, okay, well, this charge was dismissed, so we're going to just remove this from his record, period. No, it's still going to show that you were charged and arrested. The system, it's in place for a reason. But it's very, very tainted. Now, just imagine if my mom didn't have the money to bond me out. I would have sat in jail for a couple months. Probably wouldn't have had the case dismissed. Either I would have had to plead out to a charge for fear that if I went to trial, I would have received a year in jail. You see what I'm saying? Or have gone to trial with a public defender and no telling what would have happened. Probably most likely would have lost. So just luckily I had a little, my mom had a couple resources at that time to help me out in that situation and to help get me out of that situation. Just imagine that if I sit in jail all that time, I would have lost my apartment. Because even though I was always at her house, I had my clothes at her house, I still always had my own. I always had my own place. My dad always told me, always have your own place. As a man, always have your own place. Because nobody can throw you out. They throw you out, okay, cool. I go to my own. And that's one thing that he told me that I always remember, before he passed away in 2020. And I'm going to talk about that on a different video because, we rekindled our relationship later on in life. Once I became a man and I told him how I felt. And, we got past it. But that's a different video for a different day. I just wanted to shed a little light. I know the video was a little lengthy. But I wanted to shed a little light for you all that don't know just how the system works. Now, there's an individual, Jay Williams, that I've been making several videos about as of late. Based on this story that I've gone through. I've been accused of other things as well. But this was the first time I've ever been accused of something that I just blatantly didn't do. 0% true. None of it. I'm not saying Jay Williams' story is similar to my story. It's not even about what he's charged with, what he allegedly did. It's just about the fact of how it's so easy to be convicted in the eye of the public. Before the true facts really, the true facts really come out. And it's not just Jay Williams, it's anybody. You know how many innocent people sit in prison and jail? You know how many times people get arrested and they can't afford a bond and they just sit in the county jail and lose everything while they're in the county jail for a year, 6 months, 7 months, fighting the charges, and then the charges, the truth comes out and they get dismissed, but you can't get that 6-7 months back. You can't get your car back that got repoed because you couldn't make your payments while you was in jail. Your stuff got set out on the street, so people came in and took your stuff because you didn't have anyone that you trusted, or just anyone, period, to go and get your stuff out of your apartment. So now you're coming out of jail with nothing, no money, no job. You know how many times that happens to people? How much that happens to people? People love to judge you based on what they said. But oftentimes they are wrong. Hopefully this gave you a better understanding if you're open-minded enough. Now, I know a lot of people, they're stuck in their ways. Once they think a certain type of way, that's just what it is. Prisoners in their own mind. They're not open to any other change, any other ways of viewing things. I didn't think about it this way. Now, once they have it in their mind, it's just in their mind. But that's fine. That's fine. Because one day, you too shall be judged. Shouldn't judge people. I know what they said. I know what the reports say. But that doesn't mean that that's accurate. Same thing could happen to you. You get into it with your husband. Get into it with your wife, your spouse. And they go downtown to the police station and just file a totally false report against you. See how your life is going to change. then maybe you'd understand. Not that I want that to happen to anyone, but I'm just simply saying sometimes you have to go through something to understand, like, whoa, I see what this person was going through. I see what this person was saying. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share the video. Subscribe to the channel. That post notification anytime I bring you this action, this heat, or this heat and this action. You'll be amongst the first to receive it. Real Kens TV. And we still in support of Jay Williams. You know what I mean? That ain't gonna stop.